Let's talk about something useful. I want to talk about clarity and how clarity is achieved when we speak a foreign language. Clarity should be your priority, not perfection. A lot of people say it's all about the progress, it's not about perfection, and I would agree with that because when we practice our skills, we want to pay attention to the progress we're making. No one is ever going to be perfect the first time they try, especially if you try a very difficult exercise, an exercise that you haven't tried before. Clarity over perfection. If I wrote a title for my video, that would be my title, Clarity over Perfection. What do I mean by clarity? When we talk about speaking in English, if English is not your first language. A lot of people tell me that they want to deliver their ideas with as much passion, with as much energy and enthusiasm and as much clarity as when they speak their first language. Quite many people are very good presenters when it comes to delivering ideas in their first language. A lot of people have quite a lot of experience presenting their ideas in Russian, and they expect their experience in English to be exactly the same. And here comes the first trap. Your experience in another language is not going to be the same. Most people when they say, I want my experience to be the same, I want to deliver my ideas in English with as much clarity, with as much passion, and with as few mistakes, meaning without any mistakes, because I never make mistakes when I speak my first language. They mean that they want their message to sound the same when they speak English. But they forget to ask themselves this question. It's going to sound the same for whom? Very often they want it to sound the same for them. They want to know the translation of what they're saying. A lot of people who haven't really developed cognitive skills in a foreign language yet, who are working toward this, who can't process information, analyze information, comprehend information at the same speed at which they can do all these things in their first language, their criteria when it comes to, does it sound the same? Does it sound as good as when I speak in my first language? Their criteria is the quality of their translation. When people say something in English, they're very confident that they know what they're talking about. And they translate their message in their head. And very often they believe that other people are hearing exactly the same message that they're hearing in their own head. So we forget to factor in the audience. They forget to factor in the audience. They forget to speak to the audience and for the audience. I have spoken about this so many times, but I'm going to say this again. When you become an advanced learner, when you pass this intermediate threshold, what changes is not the quality of the content you work with. What changes is not the complexity of the phrasal verbs. It's not the complexity of grammar books that you start dealing with. What changes is your perspective on communication. It's no longer about how beautiful your speech is. It's no longer about looking good, looking confident, and looking professional, and looking flawless in the eyes of those people who might be judging you. It's not about that anymore. It's about being understood. It's about considering the perspective of another person. It's about understanding their perspective. And it's about getting a very clear perspective on what actually is going on in this situation and in this relationship. It's about gaining a very clear perspective on your communication and on your relationship in every specific situation. To simplify, that means when you deliver presentations in a foreign language, and if you are a truly advanced learner, your focus is not on yourself. Is this speech beautiful enough? Do I look professional enough? Is my choice of words correct? Your focus is on your conversation partner. Your focus is on your audience. Do these people understand me? Is my language clear for them? Are they receiving the message that I am intending to send? That's your focus. People, relationships, your relationship with these people, your communication with these people, the quality of your communication with these people. I would say my priority is clarity. Is my message clear for those people? I don't always need to use very complex sentence structure. On the opposite, very often I need to make my sentences very short and simple. I do not need to impress anybody with a third conditional or, I don't know, any grammar topic that you're struggling with and that you think is very, very difficult for other people. I don't need to impress people with my grammar knowledge. I want to arrive somewhere together with these people. It's not me versus them. It's not me against them. It's not my English skills versus their English skills. It's about us in communication. And what do we want to achieve together? Hence, clarity becomes more important than perfection. The question is, how do we as non-native speakers achieve clarity in communication? I defined 5 levels of clarity. Level number 1 is precise wording. When you look at something, whatever it is, let's say something in front of you, what do you call this? When you don't have the precise word for this, you start going through the words that you do have in stock, and you go like, well, it's a blue something, it's a leather, whatever. Well, this is where you put your glasses inside. Well, looks like it's a case. It's a leather case for my glasses. What do you call this? I use it to wipe my glasses. I do have my glasses here, so that's what I do with this thing. What do you call it? Very often, we just don't know the word for the thing that we need to name. What do you call this, for example? Is it a bracelet? Well, it's not actually a bracelet. It's something that you're supposed to wear on your neck, but I just happened to put it on my hand. This doesn't tell anybody much about your English skills, whether you know the name for this thing or you don't. Sometimes it's just precise wording. You need one word. And because you don't know this one word, you end up saying 10 or 20 different words to explain this one word. And the reason you don't know this precise word is not because you're still at A1 level, or because you need to work more on your idioms or phrasal verbs, or because you need to do more English classes. The reason is more simple than that. The reason is often your inattentiveness. You're simply not being attentive, and you're not teaching yourself to be attentive to the words that native speakers use to talk about the world that we live in. My focus and my line of work, not my line of work, my work, the work of my life, is to help people develop cognitive skills in a foreign language, because that opens up a completely new world. It's like a parallel cognitive universe where the same processes happen, not just in a different language, but you learn to use a completely different code, and you learn to understand a completely different code, which broadens your horizons, which opens up a completely new world, and that gives you so many new perspectives on things, something that you wouldn't have considered before. Developing cognitive skills in a foreign language means you can think in a foreign language, you can process information in a foreign language, you can find solutions to problems in a foreign language, you can identify a problem in a foreign language. And trust me, so many people have problems here. They cannot formulate exactly what it is that they're thinking about, or what it is that they're struggling with. Clarity, like, can you tell me exactly what this is about? Can you write down specifically what you mean? So many people don't have that skill of asking questions in a foreign language. How do you ask a question? So that other people understand your question. And trust me, when you know how to ask a question, it's so much easier to find the answer to that question. So this is what I mean when I talk about cognitive skills. The pace at which you speak in a foreign language. For example, if I start speaking German right now, my pace will automatically go down. I will speak slower, much slower, because my German skills are worse than my English skills, and I need more time to find the right words. I don't need to do this with English. I speak fast in Russian, and I speak faster in English as well. I would say my pace is pretty much the same when I speak both languages. But if I switch to German right now, I'm gonna slow down, for sure. I know that. So clarity is important if we consider our audience. And any type of communication is a relationship. There's always audience. You always communicate your message for someone. You want to be understood. A very basic human need, and probably the most, not requested, but the most undervalued and understated human need, is to be understood. People want to be understood. And when you give them that feeling, they're very appreciative. If you can formulate your sentences and formulate your messages and articulate your thoughts and your replies in such a way that it's clear for another person that you heard them, you understand them, they're going to appreciate it. And you both are going to appreciate that relationship that is full of clarity, where there is no guessing game and there is no misunderstanding. So coming back to the five levels of clarity. Level 1 is precise wording. And as I said earlier, to practice this, you just need to teach yourself to be very attentive to what's going on, to how native speakers talk about the world. What happens instead? Instead of being attentive and instead of paying attention to what native speakers say, many non-native speakers see the things around them. Maybe a blog post, maybe a piece of text, maybe they're reading a book, or they might be listening to an announcement in English, or just to another person who's talking to them in English. And instead of paying attention to what this text says or what this person says, they immediately translate everything into their first language, because their purpose is not to pay attention. Their purpose is to understand. And very often when we process information, we want to process it quickly, and we want to understand what people want from us. We want to understand how we're supposed to reply. We want to understand this text on this page in a book fast. We want to read the news and understand it. And because we hurry so much to understand, we fail to pay attention to how this is actually being articulated and what words are being used to explain those concepts. So non-native speakers take this content, all of it. They don't divide it into words very often, especially when they listen to something. They understand the main idea. They immediately translate this main idea into their first language. And then when somebody asks them, so what was this about and what do you understand about it? They translate their understanding or their interpretation of what they think they heard or what they think they read. They start translating that into their version of English. And this is where all miscommunication happens, and this is where people get upset and frustrated when they face the fact that they can't explain things clearly in English. They just saw that thing, they just read about it, but they don't have the words to talk about it. They just listened to that announcement, but they can't repeat it to another person. You see, because people hurry to understand before they actually heard it, before they read it, they care to reply. They care to understand so that they can reply fast. They put a lot of processes in between that are not necessary. All you need to do is you need to listen to information very carefully. Listen to a person, listen to an announcement, listen to the podcast, that you're listening to right now in the car, or you want to focus on the text that you're reading, listen closely, remember, and repeat. That's why short-term memory is one of those 9 essential skills I keep talking about. Listen, remember, repeat. Read, remember, repeat. And of course, you cannot remember huge portions of information. That's why we work with only 15, 20, 30, 60 seconds of audio materials. Or if we read out loud, it's going to be 1 paragraph, no more than that, especially if you're not experienced. If you have very little experience reading out loud. What people do instead, I already told you, there are so many processes in between. They read a lot. They try to get the main idea, because that's the most popular exercise. They used to do at school. They used to do during English classes. That's one of the most popular exercises. If you join any language course, listen to this 3-minute audio and tell us how much you understand, or tell us what you understand. So they're used to trying to figure out what the main idea is, and then they miss so many details, and yet they have to deal with this information. They have to handle it. They have to reply. They have to participate in meetings or conversations. Hence, they translate all this volume of information into their first language, and then they translate their interpretation of what they think they understood into their version of English, using the words that they already know, because they never paid attention to the new words. They never paid attention to the words that native speakers used. So precise wording is trained in a very simple way. If you want to learn to use precise words, you just want to pay attention. You just want to teach yourself to be very, very attentive to how native speakers talk about the things that surround them. How do they talk about the world? And depending on what you're interested in, if you're interested in traveling, maybe you want to read some travel blogs, or you want to read the captions of those people who post their pictures from the places they visited. I don't know, if you like fiction, or if you want, let's say, this is what I'm interested in. If you want to learn to talk about relationships, if you want to learn to express your feelings, if you want to learn to articulate your thoughts so that native speakers actually understand you, meaning if you want to enjoy deeper conversations in English, not just, hey, how are you? How much does it cost? You want to pay attention to that. I find fiction books to be the most valuable resource when it comes to learning to articulate your feelings and thoughts in a very clear way. And when I say learning, I really mean teaching yourself. Nobody is supposed to sit in front of you and teach you. Because many people imagine learning this way. Okay, I want to learn this. I want to find somebody who will teach me. Before you find somebody who will teach you and who will want to teach you, because why would anybody want to teach you if you're not willing to learn? I mean, to me, this is a very interesting question. When a person says they want to learn, and if people really, really, really want to learn, they will do a lot before they find somebody who can teach them. They will already be doing a lot when they come to you. If people are not doing anything and they're just looking for somebody to teach them, they probably don't want to learn. Because if I really, really want to learn something, I will be doing something already. Think about that. And as I mentioned earlier in my earlier videos, I'm launching this sprint on clarity, where we will be practicing exactly that, precise wording, level 1. It starts on March 4th, and we'll be working together until March 18th. Everybody can join at no cost. It doesn't matter where you live in the world, what your political views are, what nationality you are. I do not care. If you want to practice, and if you want to learn the exercises that can help you learn to pay attention to precise wording, and that can help you learn to incorporate better words in your own speech, so that you use not only the words that you know, meaning our focus is not to maintain the level that we already have. Our focus here is to move on, is to move forward. But that requires a lot of work. That one lesson is never going to be enough. That's why we're going to be doing a bunch of exercises in a row every single day, 30 minutes a day. So you know exactly how long it's going to take. 30 minutes each day for 2 weeks every day. And we'll be doing exercises together. So if you want to learn that, join us on March 4th. We'll be working together for 2 weeks. The replays of all the sessions are going to be available for all the participants. So if you miss a session, you can always watch the replay. It's only 30 minutes long. And you will learn the exercises that can help you learn to be more attentive and to use the words that can help you sound clear. I don't want to say sound like a native speaker, but you will sound clearer, not perfect, because we want to focus on clarity, not perfection. And clarity is not something you practice during an English class. Clarity is what you practice every time you think about something, every time you want to express your idea. Practice it in your first language as well. Try to complete your sentences when you talk. That's something that I'm working on right now as well. Complete your sentences. Don't drop them halfway. Make sure you use simple, short sentences, because simplicity is always good. And make sure you use the words that are precise. The fewer words you use, the clearer your message becomes. If you need 20 words to express something that can be said in 5 words, well, there is room for improvement. Well, if you want to join us on March 4th, find the link in my profile, and I'll be happy to work with you for 2 weeks. That's it for today. If you have any questions, I'm going to try to save this live video right now. We got interrupted twice. Hopefully it will save, and then I'll publish it very soon.